Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Just Around the Corner. Today I have with me one of my good friends, Lauren Gray. She is a counselor in the area and owns her own practice called Gray Lotus Counseling. Lauren, welcome.
Thank you
Excited to
so
have you
much.
here today.
So happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Um, So this just feels fun because I feel like you and I have gotten to walk a lot of different circles together of being in grad school together and being at different just like sites together. And so this is sweet in this new era of therapy life. We're getting to interact in this way. So one, just want to start off with tell us about Gray Lotus Counseling.
Yeah. So, and excuse the sound if you hear the water heater. It starts going every once in a while on its own
I love that.
during sessions sometimes. But
The water will be a part of the interview too.
yes, it's important. It needs a voice. Gray Lotus, yeah. So I actually this month was my 2-year anniversary of starting Gray
Oh,
Lotus.
congratulations.
Thank you. So it's wild because it feels like it just started and then also feels like I've been doing it for a long time. So um 2 years feels good. But I always had dreamt of having my own practice um and it kind of happened quicker than I had thought. And then also I feel like you and I have talked about how sometimes in grad school we didn't necessarily get the message like, hey, like you could do this. Like you can go into private practice. More for me, the message was like you need to do your time other places first. And so that was kind of the narrative that I had kind of accepted. And then I did, like I kind of did do my time in different places. And so I did, and kind of my like history with that is first I went into school-based counseling when I first got my license, and which was good. Like I'm thankful for that experience to have worked in a school, like doing the like you're in a closet, a janitor closet, meeting with kids, and like you meet wherever you can. And so it was a kind of that was a wild experience, but I'm thankful for that because I got to one like get exposure to school based and have a wide variety of clients. And then after I did that, then I was able to do like a group practice. And so that was really helpful to also see what does that look like. And also connect with other therapists. And then I was able to take the jump then into starting my own.
I love
Uh, and so, yeah, so a lot there in the process and a lot that helps and it has informed my practice now and also has made me very grateful for having a window and
it.
having my own space and not having to be in a closet anymore or in weird places in a building. So,
Mm, that's good. Yeah, it sounds like you doing Gray Lotus counseling is like you breaking free from this mold that you were told that you needed to fit into.
yeah. And
And in a lot of ways, you followed that mold and there was benefit, but it sounds like now that you're doing your own thing these past 2 years, that there's been a lot of learning and maybe even some newfound freedom in that you didn't expect.
mhm. Yeah, a lot of freedom and a lot of figuring out who am I as a therapist and who do I want to be and what's natural for me and not feeling like I have to go along with a certain type or a certain um, environment, I guess. And so yeah, so it's been very freeing. It was kind of I needed to kind of be pushed. And my husband was actually a big part of that, of just encouraging me of like, you can do this and you should do this.
Mhm.
Uh, and so he really helped me to kind of take that leap when that it felt a little daunting to do because there were so many messages of like, oh, you can't like because at that time I was in LAC and so I wasn't fully licensed yet. So I couldn't take insurance. And there are certain things, and I just feel like that was the message of you can't make it as an LAC in private practice. But now I can say you can. It's possible, and it's not just possible, like it's and you won't just survive, like you can thrive in
Mm.
it too. And it can be really great. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you and I both started our private practices around the same time.
Yeah.
Um, like I'm coming up on 2 years as well. And so it's been really cool and encouraging to walk alongside you and to have you as a partner in working through questions together and exploring what it looks like to be on our own and creating our own
Mhm.
like culture in a way. And
Yeah.
so, I'm curious, what do you feel like is the culture or the spirit of Gray Lotus Counseling?
Mm, I love that question. I think the spirit of it is one, like a word that comes to mind is like creative. Like a lot of what I try to like create and like a creative welcome space. And so I think what I love about even having my own space and my own practice is like I have been able to also myself create and think about like how I want to do things. And so I want people to feel that even like when they come in my office that this is a space that is like it's free, like it's and it's creative and you don't have to do things a certain way. Because I that's what I tell like when I work with clients a lot is yes, I have like a the structure in a way that I've kind of created myself of how I approach counseling. But what I really am passionate about is like each person it looks different for each person. And so I don't want to like push them into this mold even in their own process. I need to know them. I need to get to know them. And then we need to co-journey together and like co-create together. And so I think that's really important to me. And then I love also being able to empower. And so empowering my clients, but then also a really big thing for me is connecting with other therapists in the area and also like celebrating them, empowering them and celebrating the differences because I think because part of my experience was the message was no, you need to be like this way. And I hate that because everyone is so unique and have such a beautiful thing to offer. And so I love being able to celebrate the differences because we need the differences. We need to have different approaches. We need to have different personalities, different people. Like there's not this one type of therapist that is like the best kind. Like we need the diversity. And so that's kind of that what I hope for and hope what people feel when they come in here too. That they can feel that sense of freedom, of being able to play, create. I use a lot of creativity in my practice. And that also like it looks different for each person, how we do that. And so yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I think what I'm hearing you say is that the essence of Gray Lotus Counseling is creating space. Co-creating is a word you used of you're co-creating a space of healing and transformation for your clients, which is so beautiful and amazing. And just what I'm hearing is you don't want to people or your practice to be locked in a box of here's what therapy should look
Right.
like for everyone and everything. And it's more of like each person is unique. And I'm going to tailor that experience to the person that's sitting in front of me because I realize that healing is dynamic and is a creative experience, which is really cool.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I feel like that is really, and even talking about it now helps define like, yeah, that's what's so important to me. That's what I love about it. And that it shouldn't, yeah, we lose a lot when things are just like, this is how you are, or this is how it's supposed to be. You just lose so much. And like they say that the outcome, like for the therapy experience like really comes down to like the relationship. And so like that's the most powerful part, is the relationship that you have with your client, the relationship that you have with your therapist. And so if you're, I feel like at least my perspective is that people can tell if we're not being authentic. They can tell if we're like trying to even like put ourselves into this mold. They're gonna feel that, and then they're gonna withhold parts of themselves too, essentially. And so like when we can step more fully into who we are, then that is what's going to be really important for our clients, because they can feel that. Like they'll feel that sense of um yeah, constriction. And then like that sense of like when you're sitting with someone who is trying, like we're all trying to be ourselves. And so I think that they can feel that.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good. Like you are modeling in the therapy room what your hope is for your clients, which is just being authentically you, which is vulnerable,
Yeah.
like as a therapist to say, okay, I'm going to show up and just be me with you, is really beautiful and powerful. And so I love that you're saying, okay, who I am as Lauren Gray doesn't change when I leave my office. Like you're getting the same me. I'm just showing up in this very like
Yeah.
unique and attuned way. And so that's really beautiful. Um, and you've kind of been talking about just, I feel like you've already kind of answered like what you feel like counseling is and how you define it. You've said it really well. And I'm curious, just as you've been saying, creating space, you like to use a lot of very creative methods for counseling. Tell us more about what are the different modalities that you enjoy using in your practice, and kind of what would you say are your areas of like specialty or focus within your practice?
Yeah, yeah. So my approach to counseling is very like person-centered, experiential. I like using a lot of mindfulness, like connecting with your body, um, noticing emotions, and then I like pull in a lot of using art. And so I have different ways that I do that depending again on the person, but something that, for an example, that I love doing is just using like color to draw emotions, or to have an outline of a body, and helping people become more aware of, oh, where do I feel that in my body? What color is that? What does that look like? And it's always amazing to me because it's so simple. Like using art sometimes, like it feels so simple, but it unlocks this other part of people, and you're able to express in a different way. And so whenever I can use like creative approaches, I do. And whether that is drawing, or whether that, and depending on again the person, that it just looks so different. Um and so and you asked about my focus of counseling. So I work a lot with depression, grief, anxiety, trauma. And so I think that's also why I love using creative approaches, because a lot of times there are not words, like easy words or accessible words for some of the things that we have, like I've experienced, that people have experienced. And so I love being able to give tools to be able to access like those areas, and kind of unlock, and kind of, and then also like that, going back to the creating, like making something, like there's something so powerful about watching someone make something out of their pain, make something out of their trauma, or their whatever, or seeing an emotion in a different way, being able to draw sadness and see, like, oh, actually, the sadness is beautiful. The sadness is drawing me to something that I love. Like it's showing me meaning. And so I think that that is why I love using like creative outlets to be able to help people get more in touch with themselves and notice, and then be able to kind of like communicate that in a different way. Um, So yeah, that's kind of an overview of what I use. And then, yeah, how I have people express themselves.
Mm. I love that. And I love one of the things that you said about, sometimes there's just not words. And I think sometimes when we think about therapy, we think, okay, it's just going to be me talking to somebody and that's it. And really, one, we're more complex than that. And our wounds and our trauma sometimes need more avenues of expression than just words. Like it makes me think of, even in my own experiences of pain or sadness, like, yeah, it's so visceral that to try to describe it verbally can feel really challenging. And so I love that you're saying, I know that healing requires more than one form of expression, and I want to give permission for that. And that healing can look like letting your body draw that out, um, giving a visual to what's happening on the inside without necessarily having to put to words what that is, because maybe you
Yeah.
can't. And so I think that that's really beautiful. And I think says a lot about just your belief about healing is that it's very dynamic and it requires like a very holistic approach of letting your clients get in touch with the different parts of themselves, um, outside of just this very verbal expression. So that's cool.
Yeah. Yes. I love that. Just even this week, I was using a lot of like scribble, having my client just scribble emotions or experiences, and just even watching that and seeing them express something and then just cry, and just seeing like how much like our bodies like are craving almost like that outlet. And if we can, like if we can really listen and really like try to give space like for our bodies to speak through art, then like these really beautiful important things come out, even if people are a little nervous to do it or feel kind of like, I don't know if this is gonna work. But then that's like part of the process too. It's like like it's a helpful experience, because you can break down like, okay, that, yeah, what was that judgmentalness coming up for you? Or what was that fear saying? Or, like it offers so much to be able to like even unpack like, oh yeah, like that felt scary. Like, almost like you felt like you're performing for me. Okay. So like, how do we shift that? Uh, and make the space safer too. So there's just so much that can come out of using art, and creative expression.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, that's really beautiful. And yeah, in a lot of ways, it can feel more vulnerable.
Mhm.
There's a lot of pressure or performance
Mhm.
based thinking around art and like, oh, well, I'm not an artist.
Right.
And you're saying like, oh, that's just another like tool for us to kind of dig deeper into your work and to just give permission. Like, you don't have to like perform for me. You don't have to like be a quote unquote artist, whatever that means.
Right.
And so that's really neat.
Yeah. Yeah. And everyone's unique in what they're like, how they can create too, because I think everyone has like creative gifts, and it's interesting how like trauma gets stored in like the right brain. And then that's also like where our creative like arts and like our creativity are. And so I think it's so amazing that it's almost like where the trauma is also um like where there's so much access to these tools that we all have, that sometimes we discount because we think we're not an artist, when like really like we're all like born as artists, like we're always creating like we're all creating things. And so I think it's really powerful that like what we need we have. And so I think that that's like my role as a counselor sometimes, is just like being that guide of, hey, like you already have what you need, and like I'm gonna walk with you and I'm gonna support you, I'm gonna cheer you on, but you have what you need, and so let's tap into it. So
Yeah. Yeah. We're not trying to get something that's outside of ourselves. We're just helping you access what's already there and giving you some tools and some different permission to express that and let that out in a safe place. And that's really amazing.
yeah, yeah. And that's kind of like going back to that question, like what I love to do with people really is that, like, being able to, one, like, name their story. So like doing some story work, and being able to be very clear about the wounds and about the pain, about the things that have happened. And so, and I like to do that in a creative way too. So I often use a timeline where they will map out their whole life, and they'll put stones for all the negative, traumatic, painful things that have happened in their life. They label them with their age, kind of what happened. They go through that. Then they go through and they do the same thing, but for positive experiences. So, and they do flowers. And again, like, they put size. And so I love doing that because then, one, you have this visual of your life in this different way. And then I like to work through each one. And sometimes that takes a long time, because it's so important to unpack, okay, what was the message you received from this? And then how did this impact this? And so it's really amazing to see, as people are able to look at their life, they're able to name the things, they're able to notice their own narratives from experiences, and then and then in that they're able to see things differently, or tend to different parts of themselves that they didn't realize needed some tending to. And then also being able to see the flowers too, because I think that's another, going back to your other question of, like, what is the culture? What is the sense of Gray Lotus Counseling? And what I always say is, I want this to be a space where I honor the pain, where we don't avoid it, we don't skip over it, we name it, we go into it. And we also name the beauty. We also look for it. We also orient ourselves to that, because that's what we need to heal. And then connecting art back to it. There's so much research that even says, like, if someone is in a hospital, like, they're going to heal faster if they have a plant in their room, if they have beauty, they have, like, something to look at, like, they're like, we need that as humans. And so there's also that sense of, like, as we're going through the pain, as we're digging through, kind of like digging in to heal, we need the beauty too, and we need to be able to orient to the good that is there too, and name both, and not skip over either. And so that's something also I'm really passionate about. It's like, how do we make room for
Mm,
both
yeah.
and hold that?
Mm, I love that. And um, I'm just like, the picture that came to my mind as I was hearing you share about like the stones and the flowers is, it brought to mind like um, just the word stones of remembrance came to my mind. And almost like when people would die, they would cover the grave with these stones. And then, usually when you have a grave, there's people put flowers there. And so it just feels like this beautiful marriage of both, of we get
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
feel the grief and have these tokens to remember what was lost, what's hurting, and also embrace the beauty and the growth and the life that has come alongside all of that too. And that just feels like a really beautiful picture of both, and um, that just feels so honest and true and is so needed. So I love that.
Yeah, I love that picture. Yeah, that's really beautiful. Mhm.
Mm, wow, I love that. Um, Shifting a little bit, you've talked about what you do in the counseling room, which, um, I mean, like, as you're talking, I'm like, man, I would just love to be in a counseling room with Lauren. Like, just sounds so fun and free and explorative. But also want to know more about, are there projects that you're doing outside of just your like client sessions, and how can the community get connected to you and connected to those things?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like have been dreaming a lot, and um I at this time I don't have anything super concrete. So I've been able to do a few things in the last few months that kind of like reignited different parts of myself as a counselor. And so one of those was being able to be a part of this art workshop where I partnered with a local artist, and she taught about like how to paint your breath.
Mm,
And that was a really beautiful experience for me to kind of step into. And I realized I've missed that like group setting, because that's a little bit a part of my origin story, was doing art therapy, which we couldn't really say art therapy because I wasn't officially trained, but I was doing that overseas and was like a little trained, but it was kind of like, here you go, like figuring this out. But that's kind of where I fell in love with using art as a form of healing. And so now I'm, yeah, just trying to figure out what that looks like. I'm a mom of two little girls. And so, which is also so beautiful and also hard at times of just a balance. And so I think I'm kind of in this season of dreaming, like what does it look like to do some more of that? Like the using art in a group setting. I'm officially enrolled in like a certification class for the fall to get certified in art therapy. So I'm really excited about that. So I think that I'm taking these steps, and then the hope is to be able to invite more community engagement into that. Um, yeah. So right now, it feels like there's not a lot outside of me doing my practice, and then also trying to connect intentionally with other therapists and build something there together. But yeah, right now that's kind of my focus is kind of like honing in, dreaming, and then taking some steps to get more trained so that I can offer more in regards to art and therapy. So
yeah, that's good. So, yeah, you don't have like a project going right now at this time,
this
but
is a short answer, a more concise answer
no,
than.
but I love what you said because you're saying just because there's not something going on right now doesn't mean that there's not something building. And you have been doing projects in the past. And so it almost feels like an invitation, like you said, for people to dream. So if there are other therapists or artists who want to collaborate with you and maybe do an event like what you've done before with group work where you're doing art therapy, that would
Yeah.
be something you'd be really interested in. Um, as well as just continuing to connect our community of fellow therapists and just helpers. And so that's what I'm hearing is that you're like, hey, when there's
Yeah.
capacity, I'm juggling hats
Yeah.
that I want to connect, and that's my heart. And so um, I think that feels inviting and makes so much sense.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, it's like trusting the ebb and flow of the capacity. And I think sometimes I am a dreamer, and I love doing things. And so sometimes I've noticed in this season, I'm like I have all these dreams, and I have to be like, okay, let's slow down. What can I do right now? What is my capacity? And also, how do I take care of myself? Because that's kind of been a theme of the summer for me is, okay, how do I tend to me? And not just so that I can tend to others, but so that I can just practice caring for myself to care for myself. And then I think that does flow into the different realms. Um, and so yeah, that's what I've been trying to be intentional about this summer, just tending to the things, tending to what I have, like caring for them, caring for myself. So, and then excited for when there could be a little bit more capacity. And I really do love that. I think part of tending to myself is that connecting with others. And so I do love like having that kind of a space and cultivating that with other therapists and people in the community. And so I get really excited and rejuvenated through that. So yeah.
Well, how can people get connected to you? What are some ways that they can find you?
Yeah. So my website is graylotuscounseling.com. So you can go there. I'm trying to blog more, but so there's that. I haven't been super consistent. And then I do have an Instagram account too that people can follow. Um, and I think that you can find that. I think that's just Gray Lotus Counseling too. Um, and yeah, and if you want to collaborate, if you're interested in services, you can always send me a message through my website or connect at Lauren@graylotuscounseling.com. Shoot me an email. But yeah, I also love being able to connect, like either like if you're interested in counseling, like your people are always welcome to connect to see if I'm a good fit, or I can also help people get connected to other therapists. That's why I also love building that community so that I can have resources to connect people to as well. So those are the main ways.
That's awesome. And I want to speak too of, on your social media where you post a lot of different cool things for people, resources and information, but speaking to like the mom part of you and just continuation of your authenticity. I love when you do what's in my bag and your daughters will leave like these super random things in your bag and I just find that so funny and cute. And so I love that you're embracing both parts on your social media. So, um,
That's like there's the kind of professional person who happens to have a Mr. Potato Head hand in her bag, or a unicorn horn, or trash, lots of trash. So I'll keep doing that for you since you like it.
I feel seen.
Yeah, and I want to. I think part of my process too has been, yeah, how do I accept and embrace like my humanness, because I am so human and I have my messiness, I have my things, and I'm also a counselor, and it doesn't have to be separated. Like it's both, uh, um, and it's easy to get kind of fragmented or like disconnected when you do wear a lot of different hats or feel like, oh, I need to show up this very put together, like I'm the professional. And yes, professionalism, there's a place. And also, I want to be like, I am also human. And again, if I'm pretending, people are going to feel that. And so I've been trying to step more into that sense of owning and being honest and just showing up as I can, even if that looks like having a crazy morning. And then I'm stepping into my counseling office and taking a deep breath and then being present with that person. And so it's been a learning season for sure. But really good. Like I feel like each level helps me to, you know, accept myself. And then also then that translates into creating that space for my clients. So
Well, Lauren, this has just been such a treat to get to know your practice more, know your heart more, and just get to see who is Lauren Gray, who is the face behind Gray Lotus Counseling. And thanks so much for just taking this time to share with everybody who you are and to get to talk with me. This has been really, really sweet. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing what you do and build in the future and how we can continue to connect. So,
well, thank you. Thank you for doing this. I love this series that you're doing, and it's really fun to be a part of it. And it does feel very sweet with having like our journeys have been so close and from grad school to here. And so I'm really grateful for you, and it was fun.
yeah.